Hello there and welcome to Ryder Studios. Do you know I'm a huge fan of strategy games, especially local two-player ones. And I always wanted to make one myself. But I didn't really knew how to make one. Last time I made an online multiplayer game and I learned how to make one with a Udemy course created by Black Fan Prod. This time there was a Udemy course too on making a turn-by-turn strategy game, exactly what I need. So I bought it really quick and watched the complete course, so I know in what direction this will go. After I knew this, I get to work. I first drew these battlefield, aka islands. And I made this cool little water effect or shader using the all-in-one shader asset. To give it a tiny bit of polish, I scale up the tile the player is hovering over, so a simple tiny hover effect. Now I thought that I don't have a lot of freedom for fighting and moving on a battlefield, aka island. So I made smaller but more tiles. Now there's enough space to play on. The next task was making the first unit, so I drew it. The overall style is cute, colorful and cartoonish as always in my games. The characters I didn't draw very detailed, almost a silhouette style. I used a painting brush that is really cool in my opinion. Back to creating the character. I made the first version for movement. My first step for this is selecting units and highlight walkable tiles. Then I fixed the bug that the tiles don't reset. Then I went ahead and made the turn switching and I recolored the first unit into red, so I had a red and a blue unit. The blue units are controlled by the first player and the red units by the second. Back to switching turns. You can end your turn by pressing space, but I'll change that later, so you have to click a end turn button. And I display the current turn with a prototype text display that I replace later on with a graphic. The game looks very unpolished here. That is because I prototype things first and go back later to polish things out. One detail I directly did after the turn switching anyway was the little square under the selected unit. Then my next task was making the combat system. For this I first had to come up with a system. So I jumped into Krita on my laptop and came up with one. So let me explain the system. The first step to fight is to select the unit you want to attack with. Then you have to select the attack action in the action menu that pops up. And then you must select the unit of your opponent you want to fight with. And then these two units attack each other. Another thing I drew and animated was the gold mine. And at the beginning of every round they give you gold. Then I made the first prototype of the damage icon, and I changed the selection square to a circle. I made a rotating circle when hovering over a unit too. Then I added action points, gold and unit placement UI, and in total 6 different unit types. So that we are on the same page, let me explain the rules of the game. It's a local 1 versus 1 game, and your main goal is to destroy your opponent's castle. For this you can buy and place units with gold on the battlefield, aka island, and do actions with units. But you're limited here. If you run out of action points, you can't do any more actions anymore. Every action costs 1 action point. Now that you know this, we can talk more about making the game. Yeah, and then I added the unit placement and buying system, and earning gold from gold miners. Then I implemented the tiles and I replaced the placeholder UI with my newly made UI graphics. I also wrote most of the text by hand for the first time in my games. Normally it's unreadable, but this time it's quite readable, I think. Maybe. Okay, maybe not. Then I polished my first map. So I added post-processing, lighting, I replaced every single placeholder graphic that was still there, and I added particles and sound effects, and of course a soundtrack. I used the same tools as always for this, accurate music, and yeah, the ultimate sound FX package, and Then I made the end turn button I mentioned before in this video, and I disabled the move button or attack button when the unit has already moved or attacked. Then I built 2 more maps, the Frozen Sea and Vulava. All 3 maps start with different units and have a different battlefield, aka island. And of course a complete different feel. For the Frozen Sea I added snow for a very cold feel, and for Vulava I added red, orange and yellow lights and a lot of bloom for very hot and warm feel. And for let things feel really polished, I made a really smooth scene transition. Lastly, I added a main menu where you can select the map you want to play on and a tutorial. Then I had to create the tutorial. It's not very special, but it does its job, I think. Then I made a splash screen and I called the game Senjaiko, inspired by the Japanese word for strategy. I can't speak it, so here's something from the Google translator.
戦略
And what I almost forgot is to make the winning and losing conditions. So I made them and the game is finished. I built it for Windows and Mac and released it on itch.io. You can play it now and you can subscribe, join our Discord server, like if you liked the video, See you in the next video. Bye.